Is it possible for an AI author or anyone using AI to write as good as a major author like Brandon Sanderson, for example? In this video, I'm really going to explore the implications of that aspiration and see if we might be able to do something about it. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome to The Nerdy Novelist. My name is Jason Hamilton, and Brandon Sanderson is probably my biggest hero in writing. He is my current favorite living author, and I just absolutely love everything he puts out. My biggest aspiration in life is to work with him someday as an author. But as someone who is also heavily exploring AI, I wonder, could I just skip all of that work and write books that are just as good as his books? Well, anyone who has used AI knows that it's not really that simple, but let's just explore what is possible with AI and how it could possibly make us a little bit closer to those big name authors that we admire so much. All right, first of all, we are looking at a test that I have run where I'm asking the AI to write the opening scene of a chapter with this story beat. Holmes and Watson stroll down a busy London street, bantering lightheartedly when they nearly collide with an elegantly dressed American woman. She grabs Holmes' arm desperately, introducing herself as Stella and begging for his help, saying her senator husband was murdered on the Titanic. So this is just a story beat that I grabbed from a story I'm currently writing, so we could test out some different prompts here. The only thing I asked it to do here was write the opening of a chapter with that story beat. And then here was the result. I'll read the first few lines here. The London streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of city life. Carriages rolled past with the clatter of hooves on cobblestones, and the air was filled with the sounds of merchants hawking their wares, children laughing, and the distant hum of conversation. The sun was setting, casting long shadows on the pavement and turning the sky a brilliant shade of orange and pink. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson strolled side by side, the two friends deep in light-hearted banter. You really ought to consider a change in wardrobe, Watson, Holmes quipped, raising an eyebrow at his friend's well-worn shoes. Okay, so not bad. Certainly nothing groundbreaking, but not bad. Let's look at another test I ran where I gave it the same prompt, except I changed one thing. I said, in the style of a modern best-selling author. So we haven't specified which author. I just said a modern best-selling author. So ideally, predictably, it would be pulling from a bunch of different modern best-selling authors. And here's what that turned out to be. Very similar opening. The streets of London were bustling, the sounds of horse-drawn carriages, peddlers advertising their goods, and the distant hum of chatter filling the air. The skies were the shade of molten silver, clouded yet bright. It was a day unlike any other, yet for the city's most famous detective and his close friend, it was just another opportunity to traverse the city they loved. Holmes, Watson remarked with a slight chuckle, adjusting his bowler hat, you cannot possibly believe that a man's character can be discerned solely from the choice of his boots. Also not bad, not honestly that noticeably different in terms of prose, maybe slightly improved, but still something that a lot of people would probably, it would be very objective whether you like this more or not. Finally, let's take a look at this prompt here. Write the opening of a chapter in the prose style of Brandon Sanderson with this story beat. And then I gave it the same story beat. Here's what it gave us. The late afternoon sun of London pierced through the wispy clouds, casting its rays upon the busy streets below. Cobbled roads glistened from the recent rain, and the myriad of colorful umbrellas bobbed up and down in the throngs of people, creating a dance of color amidst the gray of the city. Watson chuckled as he attempted to dodge a particularly spirited pigeon, much to the amusement of Holmes. Watson, one would think that after all our adventures together, you'd have mastered the art of avoiding the more benign challenges of life. Watson smirked. Ah, but what is life without the unexpected, Holmes? Be it a rogue pigeon or an unsolved mystery, it's the surprises that keep me going. So, different this time. Noticeably different. But not necessarily better. There's certainly more descriptive language. It is certainly trying to imitate a style that is different from what it was looking at before. And in my opinion, and this is mostly because we're using ChatGPT here, it is a little too flowery and a little over the top. Now, perhaps if we were to try this with a different large language model like Claude, it would be a little different. But overall, just because I used in the style of Brandon Sanderson, it did not make a huge difference. Now, I will say that in general, I do not recommend you put the name of an author as part of your style prompt. And the reason I don't recommend this is not necessarily for any legal or copyright reasons, because it is almost certainly legal, and it will almost certainly continue to be legal to do so because you can't copyright a style. However, even though you can't copyright a style, I still feel like it is an ethical line to do that. And even if you were to do that, as you could see, it doesn't make a huge difference on the quality of the output. I really don't see much of an improvement here than I do without the prompt to do it in Brandon Sanderson's style. So far, we've seen that AI doesn't necessarily help us if we are trying to write a book like Brandon Sanderson. However, Brandon Sanderson isn't necessarily known for his prose. What is he known for? He's known for his magic systems and for his intricate plotting and for his amazing settings. So if we take this and take a look at other aspects and try to prompt the AI to do it like Brandon Sanderson, what's that going to look like? Let's take a look. We open a new chat. And I'll say, please invent a unique magic system with hard rules based in modern physics. Brandon Sanderson is, of course, known for his magic systems, and they're all hard magic systems. And so this is a prompt to try and do something similar to that. And let's see if it gives us anything unique. All right, it has given us a magic system based on quantum physics, which is kind of cool. And actually, it gave us a pretty decent rundown of what this magic system would look like. And it's divided it up into different sections. We have wave-particle duality, we have superposition, we have entanglement. And then it gives us some implications for how this would work as a magic system. So mages can see the quantum states and potentialities of objects and entities. A mage can shift objects between wave and particle states. This might allow someone to pass through barriers in a wave-like form or to momentarily evade detection. So it has all of these implications of how you could adapt this to a magic system. Not too bad, all right? Let's take the same prompt and try it again in a new chat, but this time we're going to say, make it a magic system similar to one of let's say similar to one that Brandon Sanderson might create. All right, so we now have this magic system, and funny enough, it went with a quantum magic system again. But we have the core concept: the universe operates on principles of quantum mechanics. This magic system, quantum resonance manipulation, taps into these mechanics by allowing practitioners to manipulate the probability waves of quantum particles to affect macroscopic events. And then it has practitioners, sources of powers, key terms, and then it has the hard rules and the abilities and limitations and restrictions and dangers. Now this is interesting because the first one didn't have this. It didn't have these limitations. And if you're familiar with Brandon Sanderson's rules, he talks a lot about limitations. And so it seems to have drawn from that and have given us a magic system that is definitely a little bit more like something Brandon Sanderson would make. And then I love that it gave us this narrative potential paragraph here that says the quantum resonance manipulation system offers a range of story opportunities, from wars waged over quantum wells to philosophical discussions about determinism to the ethical implications of manipulating probability and changing fates. Like many of Brandon Sanderson's systems, QRM encourages creativity in its application while always reminding users of the costs and responsibilities associated with wielding such power. So it definitely did do more because I asked it to be more of a Brandon Sanderson type magic system. However, is this really enough to make me as an AI author write a better book than Brandon Sanderson? And the answer, of course, is no, because you can have the best idea in the world, and really it's more the execution of those ideas that is most important. But wait, I'm not necessarily done yet, because Brandon Sanderson, there are many ways to learn and become a better author like Brandon Sanderson. And it's not just about writing the prose, it's not about having magic systems like him, but it is simply learning good storytelling from Brandon Sanderson. Thankfully, Brandon has extensive educational resources that you can find for free on YouTube and review yourself. But actually, one thing that I just found recently that I found to be a lot of fun is I found one of his videos, and I took one of those videos and I transcribed it using OpenAI's Whisper. And this enormous paragraph that you see here, that is just one big giant block of text, is the result of that transcription. And I was able to do this in OpenAI Playground. But let's just take this wall of text, which is, you can see here in Atticus, it says it's 10,000 words, and see if we could do something with this. If we go to Claude, and that, because Claude can process up to 10,000 or to 100,000 tokens, and so it can totally process this 10,000 words I'm going to give it. I'm going to say, can you give me a summary of this text? And then I paste it in. It pastes it in as a TXT file. And then now that I have this database of information from his lecture, we can now get a summary of what that looks like using AI. And as you can see here, it has now given us a succinct summary in key points of what this whole lecture is all about. And now that it has this information in there, we can actually ask it additional questions to learn more about Brandon Sanderson's approach here. So let's read a couple of these. He says, here is a summary of the main points from the text. The text is a transcript of the lecture given by author Brandon Sanderson to students in a writing class, which is true. Sanderson talks about his own experiences learning to be a writer, including taking a similar class years ago that was influential for him. He discusses the challenges of balancing writing with having a personal life and relationships. Writers can become consumed by writing and neglect their relationships. So let's say we want to learn more about that third point and say, can you go into more detail about what Brandon says about balancing writing with having a personal life? And we can get more information from the AI this way. And now it has given us some more information on that particular bullet point. So it says here, Sanderson explains that the more consumed writers become with their craft, the more others in their lives can feel neglected or left out. He gives an example from early in his marriage where his wife felt ignored when he was deeply engaged in conversation with other writers at dinner. Having watched this video, that is completely accurate and spot on. And then it continues on. He recommends setting boundaries and being fully present with family when you're supposed to be spending time with them. For example, he doesn't allow himself to work on writing from 5:30 to 9 when he should be present with his wife. And this is doing a wonderful job of recreating the main points from this text, the transcript. And we only have this and are able to interact with this in this way because I've gone ahead and created that transcript with AI, and then we're now interacting with that transcript with AI. All of this is possible because of AI. And so if you want to be a writer like Brandon Sanderson, tricks like this are the best way to do it. There is no shortcut to writing like a fantastic author, famous author like Brandon Sanderson. However, AI can be a fabulous tool for learning and for exploring the different ways in which you can be more like Brandon Sanderson or any other writer, Stephen King or Neil Gaiman or whoever it is. You can also simply ask the AI what it knows about these authors and learn more about their style that way. Honestly, I feel a better way to become like an author that you admire is to train yourself on their prose. And what I mean by this is there's a term called copy work, where you basically take a text written by someone else and you write it out by hand. There's something about writing something out by hand that is particularly effective for ingraining those words in your mind. It has a different psychological effect on your brain than if you were to type it out. And in a way, it's kind of funny because this is kind of like training you on someone's text, much in the way that an AI could be trained on that person's text. And this is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to rapidly increase your skill with prose is to constantly be writing out that person's work. AI is not going to do it for you, at least not for a while. It's not quite to the point yet where it can create a Brandon Sanderson-like novel from scratch and do just as good of a job as Brandon Sanderson. But in the hands of a skilled AI author who is also a skilled author without AI, someone who maybe has studied up on Brandon Sanderson, like I have tried to do, that person might have a lot more of an advantage than somebody who doesn't have all of that experience. And so what I'm trying to say here is basically, if you want to be like Brandon Sanderson or any other big name author, you name him, study what that person has done. Study what that person has released and talked about in terms of writing craft. Copy out by hand the words that person has written, and you will learn a lot about how that person writes, and you will get so much better as a writer. And then if you also want to use AI in that learning process, you can do so, and it will be extremely beneficial for you. And then, only then, can you have a chance of using AI or without AI to write a book in that lives up to that person's skill. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.